A warm welcome to the Excellency Mr. Masayuki Tada, Council General Consulate General of Japan, Chennai. Tada-sama, oisokashi naka, okoshi itadaki. A warm welcome to Mr. Mahesh Parekh, Secretary, South India Philatelic Association, Chennai, and I welcome all students and teachers of ABK OTS Dosokai, Tamil Nadu Center. Year 2002 marked the 10th year of Indo-Japan relationship, and to commemorate it, Ranga-san started this session on philatelic presentation with insight on Japan's history and culture for 50 weeks. The theme was 50 weeks, 1 week, 1 theme. At this age and his multiple travel plans, even though there were many hurdles, Ranga-san smoothly executed this entire session for a continuous 50 weeks. 50 such topics starting from Japan's law to Japan's flora and fauna, ships, tourism, history, and so on were covered with colorful PowerPoint presentations. Ranga-san has covered all the topics by telling the history behind every stamp and when and how it was released, along with his personal experiences connecting to that subject. It has been a great learning and pleasure to listen to his stories, and we will treasure them forever. Today marks the last and final presentation from Ranga-san on the topic of castles of Japan. Ranga-san's hobby on stamps was dated back to 2002, which was the 50th year of Indo-Japan relationship, which was when Ranga-san exhibited all the Japanese stamps for the first time with the able guidance of Mr. Balakrishnan Das, and Ranga-san joined the Philatelic Society. In 20 years, Ranga-san's passion on collecting Japanese stamps has grown, and he has been conducting stamp exhibition every year at ABK AOTS premises. Due to the pandemic, this exhibition has been suspended for the past 3 years. We are glad that one suspension led to another invention, and Ranga-san was able to do this 50-week session last year. It was His Excellency Masayuki Tada-sama who inaugurated this session on February 12, 2022, which was conducted online. Now I request him to felicitate Ranga-san and share a few words on his valedictory session. Before that, we would like to have a short presentation or felicitation of Tada-san by Usha.
Thank you very much, Ranga-sensei and ladies and gentlemen. It's my really great pleasure and honor to present this concluding session, the 50th session of this online strategic edition of Japanese stamp. As he said, I attended the inauguration of this online exposition first time in February 12th. The theme was Japan Imperial System. And I'm really amazed, not only the collection, various collection of Japanese stamps that is related to the Japanese Imperial family system, but the knowledge of Professor actually, but like Professor Rama Sensei. And the vast knowledge and deep understanding on Japan, Japanese culture, Japanese social and society, and various events. These without this knowledge and understanding, I thought could not have such interesting uh, address or explanation. So I really impressed by the first presentation by Mr. Ramana. But one more thing, great thing is 50 times every week. One time, oh, such a great thing, but 50 times, really amazing. And I commend with great admiration to Rama Sensei for your contribution to the village. And nature, right, to your fauna, for Japanese social events, or sports like Olympics and various events and topics. So thank you very much. And I really looking forward to hearing from you today on Japanese castle. Japanese castle is one of my great interests. So I look forward to hear from you today also. So thank you very much again. And I believe you have been enjoying this presentation for 49 times. And also you will enjoy this 50th presentation. Thank you.
Just like Brenda-san, please give a break.
Thank you for your kind words and complete support to all activities performed by the ATK OTS. And we also welcome Mr. Kosan from Yoshi Corporation, another online participant. Thank you for your presence. Right now, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mahesh Parekh, who is the Secretary, South India Philatelic Association, Chennai. Mr. Mahesh has participated in state and national level philately exhibition and won awards too. The association is helping and guiding lot of members to collect stamps and become good philatelists. I now request Mr. Mahesh to felicitate Rangathan and share a few words. But before that, I request Mr. Sundaram sir, please felicitate him with a shawl.
I don't need the my voice also gets clear. Namaskar everyone. His Excellency Mr. Mahesh P. Thaga, also to the Government of Japan,
Mr. Philatelic, Chairman ABK Tamil Nadu Center, members of Council of Japan, members of ABK OTS Philatelic, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be among you all today on the occasion of relative function of 70th year of Indo-Japan diplomatic and friendship relationship. As we all know, ABKOK Dosoka Indian Center is a leading institution for learning Japanese language. Not only that, it's also the oldest school to be, around 42 years of dedication as society. Apart from education of Japanese language, they also conduct many annual cultural events, activities with the support of Consulate General of Japan and Japan Foundation. Among those cultural exchange activities, Philatelic is one among them, which is also being organized annually from 2002 onwards. Through Philatelic, the relationship of ABKOTS and SIPA is also evolved and deep-rooted to spread the hobby of stamp collecting among general public. How many of them have not seen the stamp in recent past? I'm talking so much. Anybody has not seen the stamp in recent past? No. Yes, there are many people who have not seen the stamps. Even the guy, student, you would not see the stamp. What is stamps? So you come to later on. He was wondering what he's talking about. For conducting periodic Philatelic exhibition, AOTS Dosoka Tamil Nadu Center, SIPA is proud to say that to make this happen consistently, our right member, Mr. Raghunathan, is a role model for all of us. His commitment and dedication for this wonderful hobby of stamp collecting. The scale of height has been reached from crash course. Have you heard about crash course? We will talk about later in time permits. When you want to do a course in 3 years, but you want to come in 3 months, some activity happens fast. So one of the crash course he has done with Philatelic. So give a round of applause, please. Because it was very short time, I don't have time to tell history, very short time he was able to collect some stamps to make it an exhibit factor. It's a wonderful effort he has taken at the time. It's worth mentioning. The basic idea of exhibiting stamps of Japan by Mr. Raghunathan and ABKOTS Dosoka is to show Japan through stamps. We in Philatelic say that stamps are window to the issuing country. The Philatelists and visitors can see and learn about Japan's history, geography, culture, art, science, nature, flora and fauna, industry, commerce, etc., etc. Personally, I have learned and realized many stamps of Japan shows many similarities of culture and civilization between two countries, that is India and Japan. Now the twist of the Japanese Philatelic exhibition comes. Due to pandemic, Mr. Raghunathan goes to next level. As he said, for every problem there is a solution. He thought if visitors cannot come here, I will go to them virtual and make them see Japan through stamps. As leadership experience, he took this challenge and taken lots of effort for preparing exhibition. He saw that the exhibits are scanned, saved, and shown all over the world virtually. Due to vastness of materials, he planned in such a way that he will go to virtual every Saturday for 50 consecutive weeks. It's not a joke. You don't know how much effort it takes because all of them are given here. He needs a round of applause so much, he should be heard about it. For this journey of 50 weeks of virtual exhibits, let us all together congratulate Mr. Raghunathan. SIPA also thankful to Mr. Raghunathan sir for his contribution to selfless service to the society. Before I complete my talk, I wish to say that SIPA is submitting a letter of appreciation, for which I will first read and later request His Excellency Masuki Taga, Consul General, Consul of Japan, to hand over the letter to Mr. Raghunathan. I'll just read first for benefit of audience here. Letter addressed Mr. Raghunathan, ABK OTS Dosoka. Sir, The friendship between India and Japan has a long history, rooted in spiritual affinity and strong cultural and civilization ties. Indian culture, shaped through Buddhism, has had a great impact of Japanese culture, which is the source of Japanese people's sense of closeness to India. Ranganathan San, founder and chairman of ABK UOTS Gosogai, Tamil Nadu Center, Chennai, a society of engineers, executives, entrepreneurs, and others who had their training with Japanese companies with clear focus at the work of peace between Japan and India in all spheres, which also run the oldest Japanese school in South India. Is an avid philatelist specializing in Japanese stamps. He organized annual Japan stamp shows starting from the 50th year of Japan-India diplomatic relations in 2002. He was the past vice president of our society, South India Philatelic Association, for 2 terms and excelled in organizing national level exhibition at Chennai and also participated with the state. Ranganathan San has won the highest Japanese civilian awards with the decoration of Order of Rising Sun, Gold and Silver Rays. Ranganathan San also organized 50 virtual episodes on various Japanese themes on every Saturday for the past 1 year, which was well attended and appreciated by many. He also joined the International Society of Japanese Philately, which is in America. His presentation in 2022 commemorates the 70th year of Indo-Japanese diplomatic and friendly relationship. South India Philatelic Association greatly appreciates his untiring efforts in organizing the year-long virtual philatelic presentation showcasing the rich Japanese culture, heritage, castles, flora and fauna. We thank Mr. Ranganathan for the splendid show. Regards. So this we want to present to him. Request Council Chairman Rajendra our letter of appreciation. I don't have Japanese stamps and we are giving this. So please. So nice.
I would like to felicitate Mr. Martin by giving him a memento. Next, I'm going to come forward and do honors.
Thank you, Mr. Mahesh, for sharing your experiences and support. Now, I don't want to make all of you wait longer, so I request Ranga-san to share a few words about this session and give us a presentation on today's theme, Castles of Japan. I request all of you all to sit back and enjoy.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Excellency Karasama and my Guru's son Mahesh, Kosa, and everybody who is present here today. Thank you all very much. I'm honored that you all decided to attend my visit. I'm trying my level best. 2002 when I started this, that day we never even knew whether we were going to have it. Because we just missed. It actually started with the members' husband who came and told me he had lived in Japan with me. He has lived in Japan for 14 years, he has done a lot of stuff. And we decided to have a Japanese stamp exhibition. Unfortunately, 2 months before the exam, he left for US and we couldn't place him. So we had no idea, but meanwhile we have announced that we are going to have a Japanese stamp exhibition. So we had no other go except to collect Japanese stamps. And that time we never knew. I request all my friends, everybody sends us a lot of old stamps. covers stuck with stamps. Luckily, I have a lot of lieutenants, my friends, Chandru and Kumar, put everything in buckets of water, and there was water everywhere. We are filling out the stamps, and we didn't know what to do. So they went to General Post Office, Mount Road. Then we were introduced to my father, Mr. Balakrishna Das. So he came here. They're all sitting with everything. Asked him, when are you going to have the exhibition? It is tomorrow morning. You know, I could see shock on his face, but he told us what to do. That day we almost worked till early morning, 5 o'clock. Then we put up an exhibition, went home, came back at 10 o'clock. We have the exhibition. So that's why I think when we started learning, like Mahesh said, the crash course with his father, but he never lost his patience. He helped us. And then that's why we are here. Secondly, like whatever we are here, we owe it a lot to our staff. I also want to, when I started this center, 1973, exactly 50 years before I came back last year, was my 50th year of entering Japan. So when I started this center, there was only one person with me to help me, that's my wife, Brenda. So when then the second person to be with me was Chandru. These are the people who are being carefully slowly picked up where we are today. Today I'll be making a presentation, Japanese castles. It's always, very exciting to see it. Because the architecture is very different. The way wood and stones are being constructed. And then later on, after the World War, in some of the castles that were rebuilt, concrete was introduced. So you can see traditions mixed with technology, wood with reinforced concrete and stones. It's amazing to see Japanese architecture. And all the castles, to me, they are a standing example of the Japanese monoculture. Excellent in manufacturing anything. That's where and Japan has so many artists people who work on wood. Every castle really like what Harata said. Every castle excited me whenever I saw it. Last time when I went to Shiga, Yoshi, Mr. Suzuki, their director, he took me to Shiga. He picked me up from Maibara, he drove me across. Then we went to see the castle there. Of course, you couldn't go on to the castle, but we saw the castle. Every castle is exciting. So I thought I'll keep castle as my last presentation. So kindly join me on the presentation of castle. Okay, one more thing, I'm also very happy to say few of my classmates
who graduated along with me in 1966. They are there joining me today. So I'm very happy some of them are there. From US, two of them joined. My daughter has joined me from here. There are a lot of people today very thrilled. Not because they're listening to me, but they're going to see Japanese castles. Before I introduce you to the craft of Japanese castle, screen. Okay. Is it visible to all? Or, okay. Okay. I would like to introduce Japanese castles first with a few slides because our major presentation is going to be on stamps. Few slides on Japanese castles. Before that, this being the 70th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations, I do not know how many of you have seen the history of Japan in 1952. 1951, in San Francisco, Japan signed with a number of countries their diplomatic relations. India said we are special, we would like to sign with Japan separately in 1952. That's why 1952 was the year, and 2002 was the 50th year when we started. This year is the 70th anniversary. It's a special logo that is made, and this logo needs our permission to put it and use it. Now, these are some of the beautiful looking castles. This is a castle I visited along with my wife in Himeji. And this is the Osaka castle that we went. Some of the castles are very, very exciting. I just want to show you that. And then early Japanese castles. If you see how many years old, if you see Japanese castles, this is the Kuro Castle of Nagano. The Japanese castle, unique to Japan, with their originality and complexity, give an insight to history of Japan. The history of Japanese castle dates back to the Yoi period of 10th century BC. The Japanese began to build moats. Moats is the water, this thing around, as a defense thing, to protect themselves from animals. When conflicts between people began, they built walls. We can see reconstruction of these settlements in Yoshinogari. I have shown you below the Yoshinogari, where there is in the Saga prefecture. They were the first settlements built at that time. Still, it is maintained for people to see. Saga is also very famous for its windy place. So, annual balloon competition is held in Saga. Then, from the 12th century, the lords and vassals of shogunate, you all know that Japan had shoguns, and then the shogunate began to develop their activity around the castles. During the Sengoku period, late 15th and 16th century, the vassals and lords of the shogun lived in their houses at the foot of the mountain in times of peace. And where was the lord staying? On top in the castles. Most of the castles were also there on hilltop, so they were there. In times of war, they shut themselves up in their castles, usually located on top of the mountain. At this time, the towns are called Jokamachi. A village at the foot of the castle appeared to build supply to the castle. Then in 1576, Oda Nobunaga, there were three warlords. Okay, Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu, Tokugawa Ieyasu. They are the three people who they are being credited to unify Japan, especially at the time of Tokugawa Ieyasu. The Japan brought under peaceful 260 years of shutting itself away from the world. In 1576, Oda Nobunaga had a Aizuchi-jo castle. It is the first modern castle to be built. You can see the picture of that castle here, and the picture of Oda Nobunaga, the warlord of the first warlord. These castles were no longer solely defensive structures, but became the residence of the lords and centers of economic and political activity. Modern castles were raised as a symbol of stately power. Thus, the stone walls and the Tenshu. Tenshu is the top tower that you call. And they also, if you see the translation in English, they call it as the keep. Tenshu is also keep. Tenshu tower being characteristics of this stately power. And then, after the unification of Japan, carried out by the Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu in the early 17th century, the lords were ordered to build modern castles throughout Japan. You will not even imagine, there were 25,000 castles all over Japan, built by all the lords here and there everywhere. However, in 1615, the second shogun of the Tokugawa dynasty ordered to keep a single castle per state to reduce the power and wealth of these lords. So many castles have to be demolished. Then you see on the top, you see Emperor Meiji there. And then in 1873, after the Meiji restoration, the emperor ordered the abolition of the power of the castles in order to modernize the country. For the emperor, castle was a symbol of ancient Japan. You all know that the Meiji restoration took place, and then Edo came to a conclusion, and the imperial power has again restored in Japan. So Meiji was the first emperor to come back, and Japan became more westernized than from the eastern, the earlier the thing. And that happened because Commodore Perry came and forced the Edo government to open the doors of Japan. After the imperial edict on the castles, many of them were abandoned. And when Japan entered World War II, the castles that managed to survive were taken over by the Japanese army to store and protect weapons. Many castles were rebuilt after World War II, but often with modern materials such as concrete. That's where the tradition and technology came together. Today, there are only 12 castles that are considered original. Himeji Castle in Hyogo Prefecture stands out for being declared as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1993. Now, castles are for the Japanese pride, a pride that allows them to share the world what the life of their ancestors was like, as well the artistic and architectural advances of the time of their construction and careful care that has taken their reconstruction. They stand as a symbol of Japanese perseverance and never give up spirit. So that's how I introduce the Japanese. Now we go into the actual stamp presentation. Okay. Now this is the first. 1 second, give me a minute. I'll move this. Okay. This is the Enoshima Suigen Castle. You can see the stamp there. For every stamp, I given the stamp details down below for those of you who are interested in philately. The date of release is there on the top. Then size of the stamp. Then the colors that were there. Then the people who have designed it and people who have printed it, and what is the format. And then that's we call it a stamp. And then what is the emission? It's a commemorative stamp. That's what we say. And then perforation around the stamp. Some have perforation, some may not have perforation. Okay. And then we have stamps which are self-adhesive, like this stamp doesn't have perforation. Just peel and stick it onto the cover, like what our friend Mahesh said. After the email, nobody is seeing stamps. Okay. And then the face value of the stamp. These are the details that are there for every stamp I given. For those who are interested from the philatelic point of view, they can have a look at it. Now, the Murakami clan were the most famous pirates in the Seto Inland Sea. Do you know where is Seto Inland Sea? If you see on the side of Hiroshima, you can see the Seto Inland Sea. And then if you go between Honshu and Shikoku, that's the area where you can see. The Warring States period had 3 subclans: Inoshima, Nooshima, and Kurushima from north to south. The castle is a museum. This castle is a museum mainly about Inoshima and Murakami pirates. Inoshima Suigen Castle, which exhibits weapons and the armors used by the Murakami pirates, and Mount Shirataki, where a lookout post was built. Now, this stamp was released in 2002. I mix up the years of their release. Okay. And then Oyamazumi Shrine was worshipped by the Murakami pirates, and the Nojima Castle ruins, where the activities of the Nojima clan took place. Now, this is the first stamp. You can see still the beautiful, though it's called as Nojima Castle ruins. You can see the castle still, very beautiful castle. Then Shuri Castle. Shuri Castle is in Okinawa. Shuri Castle was a Ryukyukan Gyosaka Castle, that is, castle, a fortress in the Ryukyu Islands that features stone walls in Okinawa. This castle was built in 13th century by Shubanjuki, the second king of Chuzan. Okay, contacts between Ryukyu Islands and China began in 1372 and lasted 5 centuries until the establishment of Okinawa Prefecture in 1879 due to the abolition of the Han system and the establishment of the prefectural system. So in 1879, Okinawa became they got into the prefectural system. Between 1429 and 1879, it was the place of the Ryukyu kingdom. Before it was called as Okinawa, it was a kingdom, Ryukyu kingdom, before becoming largely neglected. In 1945, during the Battle of Okinawa, it was almost destroyed. Now, you can also see the stamp. There's a circle in the stamp, that is the entrance. So we are going to talk about the Shuri Castle entrance here. Okay, and in 1850, I know you would have also heard about the name Commodore Perry, who forced Japan to open the doors. Twice forced his way to Shuri Castle, but he was denied an audience with the king. That time, Ryukyu kingdom had the king. So the king didn't want to see. Okay. In Japan, on the mainland, we had the shogun, and then on the Ryukyu kingdom, there was a king who denied audience to Commodore Perry. Shuraimon Gate. Shuraimon Gate, originally built in the early 16th century by King Shosei. It was for a ceremonial entrance to the castle. It was that's a Shuraimon that I've marked here. The gate, like the castle, has been destroyed many times and was last built in 1958. To commemorate the 28th G8 summit, which was held in Okinawa, a 2000 note, currency note was specially printed, featuring a picture of this gate. Incidentally, the word Shurei is often confused with Shuri, but it is actually a Chinese word meaning eternal courtesy. Now, this again is Okinawan stamp. The castle stands on top of a hill, providing a commanding view of Naha. Naha is the capital of Okinawa. Talks for rebuilding Okinawa's Shuri Castle, your UNESCO World Heritage Site, began soon after the castle burned down in 2019. Many castles have been burned down, destroyed because of fire or earthquake, and then rebuilding has taken place. And Shuri Castle is one which has been burned down. Now supposed to be completed by 2026, if I'm right. The devastating incident on that October night wasn't the first time the castle complex has been damaged. It was burned down and rebuilt in 1453, 1660, 1709, and it suffered almost significant devastation in the war in 1945. During the Pacific War, Okinawa was the site of the only land battle in Japan that involved civilians. And then next is Suruga Castle and Aizu Wakamatsu at Aizu Wakamatsu. Aizu Wakamatsu Castle, also known as Suruga Castle, in the city of Aizu Wakamatsu in Fukushima Prefecture in northern Japan. A fortress has stood at the site since 1384. Look at the history of these castles. And when Ashima Naomori built the original castle known as the Kurokawa Castle, Aizu Wakamatsu Castle was the seat of powerful Aizu clan, enthusiastic supporters of the Tokugawa region. Because at that time when they had the bifurcation, the Meiji restaurant took place, some of the people supported the Edo government, and many people wanted the imperial power or the emperor to come back to power. And the Aizu Wakamatsu clan was always a supporter of the Tokugawa regime, the Edo regime, throughout the Edo period of the Japanese history. The first father of the Aizu clan was the Oshina Masayuki, a grandson of Ieyasu Tokugawa, and his family became known as Matsudaya. Okay, the stamp details are of course down below. People can always read the stamp details here. Then Kumamoto Castle. Kumamoto Castle is one of still 3 castles which are supposed to be very outstanding castles of Japan. Kumamoto Castle is a hilltop castle located in Chuoku, Kumamoto Prefecture in Kyushu Island in southern Japan. It is a large and well fortified castle. And Tenshu Kaku, or the highest tower, or the Tenshu, or the keep, or main keep of the castle, is a concrete reconstruction built in 1960, but several ancillary wooden buildings remain in the original scale. Kumamoto Castle is considered one of the 3 premier castles in Japan, along with Himeji and Matsumoto Castle. 13 structures in the castle complex are designed as important cultural property. Then Matsuye Castle. Matsuye Castle is a fortified monument surrounded by moats located in Matsuye city in Shimane Prefecture, Western Japan. Matsuye Castle, one of the 12 authentic Japanese castles. In the very beginning, we had said after the war, only 12 authentic Japanese castles are still there in the original. After many of them been abandoned or destroyed, so it is one of the 12 authentic Japanese castles. Matsuye Castle was completed in 1611 after 5 years of construction ordered by Daimyo Yoshihiro Horiyo, the founder of Matsuye. The main keep survived all the natural disaster, fires, and dismantle of feudal castless castles during the early Meiji era. And the height was a strong defensive. Its height was a strong defensive feature. However, given its construction date, the castle is never used for war. Some castles they are used for war, and Matsuye was never used for war. And then Nagoya Castle. I've just shown you. If you look at these 2 stamps, immediately people know they must be old stamps because they're all in monocolor, only one color printed. So it's not multicolor stamp, monocolor stamp in blue and red. The same Nagoya Castle is there. In 1925, the overseas postal regulations were revised. At that time, if you see, when Japan started its postal services, every country was also running their own postal service. US had their postal service. So they decided to regularize and Japan to take over the thing. At that time, some of the postal rates were also revised. Okay. And to correspond with the new overseas postal charges, 3 types of stamps featuring Mount Fuji, the Tosho Shrine of Nikko, and Nagoya Castle were issued. And they were all single color stamps, and they were the horizontal type. These are the first standard stamps in Japan to have a rectangular shape, not the vertical type, but the horizontal type. And these stamps have become known as the scenery stamps of 1925. These stamps are issued on various types of paper and in different colors until 1937. The 2 stamps in blue and red are shown here are Nagoya Castle. Then you see, this is also Nagoya Castle, but you see a white lily in the foreground and castle at the background. Okay, and Tokugawa Ieyasu emerged victorious from the decisive battle of Sekigahara, which had split Japan into east and west factions. And upon his investment as shogun, established his government in Edo. In 1610, he called upon the former enemy daimyo to commence construction of the new castle to be built in Nagoya. Okay, and the next 260 years of the Edo period, 1603 to 1867, it thrived as a castle of the Owari Tokugawa clan. The population of the nearby castle town of Kiyosu were ordered to move to the new castle site, and the current city of Nagoya was formed. Now, the Chikusa Park in Nagoya is very famous for their 10,000 lilies that bloom in summer in June. The white lily is one of those lilies of Nagoya, and this is seen in the foreground of the stamp. Details are stamp details are given below. Then Nagoya Castle was constructed by the Owari domain in 1612 during the Edo period on the site of the earlier castle of the Odo clan in the Sengoku period. Nagoya Castle was completed in 1615 as added by the shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu and is Japan's first castle to be designated as a national treasure. Even after wartime air raid destruction, it was deemed historically important enough to be designated as a national historical site. And again, you can see this stamp does not have any perforation. That means if you don't have perforation, it has got self-adhesive. You just peel the stamp and paste it. Okay, and it will be very interesting to see. Japan started the postal services with only 4 stamps. 1871, they had only 4 stamps. Today, Japan prints something like 800 to 900 stamps per annum. And to identify a stamp and find out where it is, it's a big job nowadays. The earlier days, 4 stamps, 20 stamps, very easy. But today, Japan had fantastic stamps. I have never seen many countries making as beautiful stamps as Japan. Whatever the Japanese do, everything is, spick and span, beautiful and appealing, so that the cultural appeal you can see in the stamp. And very interestingly, they also have what you call as prefectural stamp. Okay, Japan, as you know, has got 47 prefectures. A prefecture is nothing other than a state. They are called a state stamps. Osaka has got Osaka stamp. But interestingly, no state can permit stamps. All the stamps are printed by the centralized government, by the Japan Postal Department, but they're divided for easiness sake as commemorative stamps and prefectural stamps. And so you can go to the prefecture and identify the stamp. If I want to see Nagoya Castle, I go to Nagoya and then find out where is the stamp. Wait a minute. Okay. Now, Nagoya Castle is the most famous in Japan. Main tower beautifully reconstructed of the bombing of the World War II. The most famous icon of this castle is the golden statue displayed high on its roof, a mythical Shachi Hoko, half fish and half tiger creature, which are shown on the right hand corner of the thing. However, Nagoya Castle Shachihoko, is also known simply as Shachi, is modeled after a body of a killer whale. The statue is perched almost 50 meters up on top of the castle's main tower. Okay, Kinho Shachihoko is often shortened as Kin Shachi. That is, kin is gold, so it's a gold thing. That's how the Nagoya Castle is being identified. In the earlier days, if you see, very interestingly, the blue stamp, and this for the blue stamp, people used to forge the 4 first stamps, 1871 stamps, okay, are the expensive and very well forged stamps even today. To avoid any forging later on, initial days, they were also learning, so they were printed in normal paper. Then later on, they introduced watermark at the back of the thing. You can see. So I've indicated the watermark down below the wavy pattern that you have. The watermark is there, and wavy lines type 4. There were different watermarks for different stamps. And then Nagoya, Japan Post itself has released so many stamps on Nagoya Castle. So I collected the Nagoya Castle stamps together and put them. Nagoya Castle was the heart of one of the most important castle towns, linking 2 important Edo 5 routes. That is, there are different routes. This is the Tokaido and Nakasendo route. Is got and Nagoya forms a very important castle town in that thing. Nagoya Castle was destroyed in 1945 during World War II bombing. The reconstruction repair has been underway since 1957. Even last time when we went, there was still some work going. Meiju, the name Meiju derives from the abbreviated kanji form of Nagoya Castle, reflecting the cultural influence of this historical structure. The castle is historically been called as Kinjo, which means golden castle. Then Karatsu Castle of Saga. Karatsu is a Japanese castle located in Karatsu, Saga Prefecture. It is called as Hiraya Majiro, a castle built on a plain rather than a hill or a mountain. At the end of the Edo period, Karatsu Castle was home to be the Ogasawara clan, daimyo Karatsu domain. It was also known as the Dancing Crane Castle. Karatsu Castle, which stands beside Karatsu Bay, is unusual in that the stonework rises directly out of water next to the ocean, using the ocean as a natural moat. Every castle they try to keep a moat in order so that the enemy, when they approach, they have to cross the moat. The people in the castle will have enough time to identify the enemy. So it's a defensive thing. The moats have been created, and inside the castle also, the samurais and the people, they have a lot of escape routes. The floors are differently designed, so to work against the gravity. It's a very interesting construction. The monozukuri of the civil engineering of those days can be seen there. Then Matsuyama Castle, Ehime. Matsuyama Castle is a flatland mountain-style castle that was built in 1603 at Mount Katsuyama in Matsuyama city in Ehime Prefecture. The castle, one of the 12 Japanese castles, still have a original tenshu, the tower or keep. The castle has been protected as a national historic site since 1952. It is also called as a Iyo Matsuyama Castle to disambiguate it from the another one more Matsuyama is there. That's a Bichu Matsuyama. I will also show you Bichu Matsuyama Castle in Okayama in other stamp that is there. Matsuyama Castle consists of a Honmaru or a main enclosure and a Nimaru secondary enclosure and the Sanmaru tertiary enclosure. So, and then spread over a flat hilltop for about 400 square meter area. And then Matsuyama Castle was first built in early 1600 by Sato Yoshiaki. Later, it became home of the Matsudaira family and remained so until the end of feudal era. The castle burned down in 1784 when it was struck by lightning and was reconstructed in 1852. Very interestingly, if you see, I would have shown in these terms, many castles have been burned down, but they have been rebuilt. Okay, so many of you, our students, you all understand the important phrase, Hachioki, Nanaokorobi Hachioki. So if you fall 7 times, get up at the 8th time. Never will give up is the Japanese spirit. Anything destroyed can be rebuilt. So the way they built, I was very amazed. In the 2011, the triple disaster, Sendai airport was completely flooded. Everything was stopped. Within 1 year, the flights have started landing in Sendai. So that's the Japanese way of reconstruction. Okay. And then Matsuyama stands above the city and was miraculously kept intact since 1868, despite the numerous battles and wars Japan had to face. From the top of Katsuyama Hill, one can have a wonderful view of the city and of the Seto Inland Sea. About 200 cherry trees are planted around the castle, allowing for an awesome view during the blooming season between March and early April. That's Matsuyama Castle. Then Hirosaki Castle. Look at the stamp. It's certainly big horizontal stamp. Hirosaki Castle completed in 1611 by the Tsugaru clan in Awamori Prefecture. Hirosaki Castle is a Hirayama style castle constructed, that is a flatland castle, constructed in 1611. The castle was originally built in 1611 by Nobuhiro, the lord of the Tsugaru clan. Lord Tsugaru sided with the great, wonderful Toyotomi Hideyoshi, one of the 3 unifiers of Japan, before Tokugawa Ieyasu, in the Battle of Odawara that reunited Japan with Tokugawa Ieyasu in the Battle of Sekihara, which ushered into Japan's longest samurai government. That is Hirosaki Castle's. Then Omura Hamenobu was awarded the area around Hirosaki for his loyalty to Hideyoshi during the Battle of Odawara. So look at this, is a vertical stamp that you see, and the flowers are print. And then he changed his name to Tomonobu Tsugaru. He started work on Hirosaki Castle in 1603. He died in 1607, and his son, Nobuhira, restarted the work in 1610, and he finished the castle just in 1 year in 1611. Historian Shiba Ryotaro praised it as one of the 7 famous castles of Japan in his travel essay series called Kaido wa Yoku. And the Tsugaru clan held the castle until the Meiji Restoration, when it was taken over by the imperial government. Yep. And then Hirosaki Castle, a fine, far northern fortress known for major festivals of cherry blossom. Okay. And then Hirosaki Castle is widely considered to be one of the Japan's most beautiful castles. The main tower is built on top of a hill for easier defense and surrounded by defensive walls, moats, and yagura towers. The park surrounding the castle is filled with cherry trees, making spring a major event. Hirosaki Castle Keep was originally a 5-story tower. In 1627, it was struck by a lightning and burnt down. The current structure was rebuilt in 1811 as a 3-story tower from a 5-story tower. Then Matsumae Castle in Hokkaido. Matsumae Castle is located in Matsumae in Hokkaido and is the northernmost castle in Japan. The only traditional style Edo period castle in Hokkaido. It is the chief resistance of the Han or the estate of the Matsumae clan. The first built in 1606 by Matsumae Yoshihiro under orders from the Tokugawa shogunate, which required his clan to defend the area and by extension the whole of Japan from the Ainu. Ainu were the native people of Japan, is what they say, on the northern Hokkaido side. And the people used to call them as barbarians to the north, Ainu. But they're the native people first there. And if you see, there's a bordering between Japan and Russia, that's the Hokkaido area there. Ainu is in Hokkaido, in the northern part of the thing. And then it was burned down in 1637, but was rebuilt in 1639. The present castle complex, which dates from 1854, was constructed to deter attacks by the foreign naval forces. Then, Gyoraku Castle, Hokkaido. The Tokugawa shogunate, the Japanese government during the Edo period, closed the country to foreign commerce, except for Netherlands and China. However, 1854, Japan signed a friendship treaty with the United States, United Kingdom, Russia, and one after another. Earlier, if people have watched, then I said few of the ports were opened for foreign trade because of this peace treaty. And 1858, Japan signed a treaty, and Hokkaido in Okadate in Hokkaido became a trade port in 1855. And then it followed with other ports like Yokohama and others. The Tokugawa shogunate dispatched Okadate magistrates to oversee negotiation with the foreign countries and the administration of the city. The government planned a government office for the magistrates in inland to be protected by a fort away from the port and downtown area. A star-shaped fort was named as Gyoraku, and the next picture was taken by me. This is how it looks like. There is a tower, went on the tower and took the 5-star type of thing. You can see the shade of the tower that is there when by the time we went there, this slightly late in the afternoon, so the shadow falls. But I thought the massiveness of the thing and what you see, the fort is right in the center of that. So it's a 5-star moat around the castle. Then Matsumoto Castle in Nagano. This is again one of the 3 beautiful castles along with Kumamoto, Matsumoto, and one more. The castle origins go back to the Sengoku period. The fortification was built at this location by the Ogasawara clan during the Eisho era, 1504 to 1520. In 1872, the new Meiji government ordered the destruction of all former feudal fortifications. Most of the castle structures were razed, and the outer grounds of the Matsumoto Castle were sold off at auction for redevelopment. When news break out that the Chenshu, the shop, are going to be demolished, an influential figure of the Matsumoto, Chikawa Ryozo, along with the residents from Matsumoto, started a campaign to save the building. Their efforts were rewarded when the tower was acquired by the city government. Again, stamp details are down below. The beautiful stamp is there. Since it is on Nagaro, you can see the Japan Alps at the back, ice-clad mountains. Then the crew of Castle of Matsumoto, the Matsumoto Castle, originally known as the Fukashi Castle, is one of Japan's premier historic castles, along with the Himeji and Kumamoto. Matsumoto Castle is built on flat ground and is thus classified as a Hirajiro in Japanese, flat land castle, and has a large moat and thick walls as a means of defense. The building is known, you can see the building is black compared to the Himeji's building, which is white. The building is known as the Crow Castle due to its black exterior. The tower, the Tenshu, which is completed late 16th century, maintains the original wooden interior and external stonework. And then, of the 5 castles designated as National Treasure of Japan, Matsumoto Castle in Matsumoto, Nagano Prefecture, is one of the oldest, dating from 1594. Inside the castle are steep stairs and low ceilings, leading past displays of armor, weapons from the Sengoku Jidai, Warring States period, when the castle was originally built. The narrow wooden window, once used by the archers and gunmen, provide amazing view of the Japanese Alps surrounding the Matsumoto city and the koi. You must know about the koi. Some of our students, in the month of May, we all have the koi nobori, the Children's Day. The koi is one fish that will swim against the current. So you want the children, boys, to be as strong as the koi, to swim against any current. Okay, and swans circling in the moon. It is listed as a national treasure of Japan and one of the 12 remaining original Tenshu in Japan. And Ueda Castle, Nagano. Ueda Castle, Japanese castle located Ueda, northern Nagano prefecture. At the end of the Edo period, Ueda Castle was home of the Matsudaira clan, daimyo, but the castle is better known as for its association with the Sengoku period Sanada clan. It is also called as Amagafuji Jo. Jo is for castle, or Matsuo Jo. The castle was designated a National Historic Site of Japan in 1934. Ueda Castle is located on a hill overlooking branch of Chikuma River at the northeast edge of the Nagano Plain, which forms a part of the southern defenses and acts as a moat. Inuyama Castle at Aichi. Aichi is where the central Japan. Inuyama Castle is a Yamajiro-style Japanese castle located in the city of Inuyama, Aichi Prefecture. The castle overlooks the Kiso River, which serves as a border between Aichi and Gifu Prefecture. The Tenshu of the Inuyama Castle has only 12 pre-modern Tenshu remaining in existence and is determined to be the oldest remaining Tenshu, dating back from late 1580s. The castle has been a National Historic Site since 2018. The stamp details are down below. The beautiful stamp is right on top there. Then we have the Hikone Castle. Okay, where is Hikone Castle? That's our place, Shiga. So, my friend Kosan is very happy that I'm talking about Hikone Castle. And also, Mailsami, the director of the Yoshi India, is also smiling. Okay, Hikone Castle is a Edo period castle. Hikone Castle is Edo period castle located in the city of Hikone in Shiga and is considered the most significant historical building of Shiga. Please tell Suzuki-san, I remember my visit along with him to this place. Okay, this site has been protected as a National Historic Site since 1951. Hikone is one of the only 12 castles in Japan with its original Tenshu and one of the 5 castles listed as a national treasure. Hikone Castle is located 1 kilometer from Lake Biwa, and incidentally, it is their company, Kyoshi Corporation, which has been working along with us on a Tokyo way to Japan, and then the summer internship program for the college students, and the Yoshi Environment Awards. That is their company that cleans Biwa Lake waters and supply the city. Now, it's not an easy job. I always remember, very interesting, something I was, their past chairman, past president, Mr. Suzuki was here. When he used to say, Suzuki-san used to tell, when somebody is going for dinner and sitting on the table, they serve what is on the table. They look at, they say, oh, this is very nice, beautiful, and all that. But we look at what has been in the waste basket, whatever they peel and put. That's why we are in business, used to say. We don't look at the table, but we look at the waste basket. That's what Suzuki-san used to say after taking care of the dry waste. So thank you again, Yoshi Corporation. At the 50th year, I have a chance to say a few words about Yoshi also. Ikone Castle is located 1 kilometer from Lake Biwa. Due to land reclamation, but originally the castle was directly on the lake shore, and north and east sides were surrounded by water. Ikone Castle, 3-story castle keep, is relatively small, but displays a unique design that combines multiple different architectural styles. This is one reason why the castle keep has been designated as a national treasure, the highest designations of cultural property in Japan, held by 4 other castle keeps, namely one in Himeji, Matsumoto, and Matsui. After a construction period of 20 years, Ikone Castle was completed in 1622. The hilltop castle served as a seat of the Lee daimyo, feudal lords, until the end of the feudal age, 1868. Ikone Castle is an original castle. It survived a fast feudal era without undergoing destruction or reconstruction. And Marugame Castle is an Edo period Japanese castle in the city of Marugame, Kagawa Prefecture. It is located in the center of Marugame city in former Sankui province in the island of Shikoku. During the Edo period, it was the center of Marugame domain, ruled by the Hozama Kyogaku clan under the Tokugawa shogunate. You can see the stamp, this one, and the details. The castle site has been protected as a national historic site since 1953. Marugame Castle is one of the only dozen Japanese castles to have an original wooden tenshu built before 1860. Then we have the Himeji Castle again. Himeji Castle, Himeji-jo, is also known as the White Heron Castle. Shirasaga-jo, due to its elegant white appearance, is widely considered Japan's most spectacular castle for imposing size and beauty and is well preserved complex castle ground. And if you get on at the Himeji station, it is not very far. You can walk to the castle. Maybe that's one castle that you can reach just by walking from the Shinkansen station. The castle is both national treasure and World Heritage Site. Unlike many other Japanese castles, it is never destroyed by war, earthquake, or fire, and survives on this day as one of the country's 12 original castles. Then Himeji Castle dates. Now, this again you can see is an old stamp, 1951, monocolor stamp. And then you should, when you see a stamp, also watch the numerals 1400. The 14 yen at that time in 1951, there was a 00 that was added to the yen. So before that, in some of the stamps, you can see it is written as sen. Before n, there was sen. So there are 10 stamps also there. I don't know whether I have it in this. In some other things I've seen. It's a 14 Japanese cents, but it is written in the stamp as 1400. Please note that. Himeji Castle dates to 1333 when Akamatsu Norimura built a fort on top of Himeyama Hill. The fort was dismantled and rebuilt as Himeyama Castle in 1346 and then remodeled to Himeji Castle. Himeji Castle was then significantly remodeled in 1581 by a Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who added a 3-story castle keep. In 1600, Tokugawa Ieyasu awarded the castle to Ikeda Hirumasa for his help in the Battle of Sekigahara. And Ikeda completely rebuilt the castle from 1601 to 1609, expanding it into a large castle complex. So you can see so many changes have been going through. And then Himeji Castle is Hilltop Castle situated in city of Himeji in Hyogo Prefecture. The castle is regarded as the finest surviving example of prototypical Japanese castle architecture, comprising a network of 83 rooms with advanced defensive systems from the feudal period. Historically, Himeji Castle was of strategic importance for the Tokugawa shogunate due to its location along the western approach to the former capital of Kyoto. Today, it's one of the 12 remaining original castles. Restoration of Himeji castles. Again, you see, 1964. By the time the 10th Japanese yen, the 00s are not there. So if you see, the value of yen was also changing. So 1400 yen, now it has become 10 yen with no zeros. Okay. Several buildings were later added to the castle complex by Honda Tadamasa from 1617 to 1618. For almost 70 years, Himeji Castle has remained intact, even throughout the bombing of Himeji in World War II and natural disasters, including 1995 Great Hanshin earthquake, the Kobe earthquake. The order to preserve the castle building, it underwent restoration work for several years and reopened to the public on March 27, 2015. The works also removed decades of dirt and grime and restoring the formerly grey roof to the original brilliant white color. Then Maruoka Castle. Maruoka Castle is a Hirayama style Japanese castle located in Maruoka neighborhood in the city of Sakai, Fukui Prefecture in the Hokuriku region. It's called the Kasumigajo Mist Castle due to the legend that whenever an enemy approaches the castle, a thick mist appears to hide it. That's why it's called as a mist castle. Built at the end of the Sengoku period, the castle was occupied by a succession of daimyo of Maruoka domain under the Edo period Tokugawa shogunate. The site is a public park noted for its sakura viewing when light up. There are 400 sakura trees around this castle, and in the night they have got 300 lanterns which are lighting up this place. They say this is a very beautiful sight for you to see Maruoka Castle. Now, if you see the this is a very interesting stamp, a Saturn and pair, and this shows the same Maruoka Castle in 4 different seasons. Japan is very the 4 seasons are clearly demarked, and then the 4 seasons will come on dot, like any Japanese, it will also be punctual. So the 4 seasons then, Maruoka Castle, one of the 12 castles remaining in Japan that have survived the post-feudal ages with the castle keeps intact. The relatively small 3-story keep was considered to be the oldest in the country, but recent studies reveal that this is not the case, dating the keep's construction to be early 1600. The interior of the wooden structure is preserved and unfurnished. A set of extremely steep wooden stairs lead up to the floor above, which the visitors can scale with the aid of ropes hanging from the ceiling. Okay, maybe my friend Bose or somebody can climb, but not all of us can do that. Okay, and the panoramic view from the surrounding plain is what the climbing through the ropes. Okay, now then I have a very interesting stamp. Look at this stamp. The stamp says Lao. Okay, okay. Maruoka Castle was built in 1576 by Shibata Kasutoyo. It is famous for its castle tower, which is the oldest existing one in Japan and appointed as an important cultural property. And a letter known to be the shortest in Japan was written by Honda Shiketsugu, the father of the Lord of Maruoka. It says, the letter says, "My dear Lord, beware of fire. Don't make sin. The name of the eldest son, pride. Feed the horses well." That is the letter he wrote to us. So that's supposed to be the shortest letter written in Japan. Then Hiroshima Castle. Hiroshima Castle was originally built in 1590s. It was destroyed with the atomic bomb along with the rest of the city in 1945 and rebuilt in 1958. Since then, it has also served as a museum of the history of Hiroshima before World War II. The castle structure with the museum inside is reconstruction of the original 16th century 5-story donjon. At sunset, the view of the castle offers a stunning perspective, and after winter snowfall, when the cherry blossoms are in the bloom, a view from the blossoming trees in the castle, especially beautiful. Kochi Castle. Kochi Castle is a Edo period Japanese castle in the city of Kochi, Kochi Prefecture. It is located in Otakayama Hill, the center of the Kochi city, which in turn is located at the center of the Kochi Plain, the most prosperous area in the former Tosa province in Shikoku. From 1601 to 1871, it was the center of Tosa domain, ruled by the Tozama Yamauchi clan under the Tokugawa shogunate. The castle site has been protected as a National Historic Site since 1959, which the area under the protection is expanded to 2014. Then Kochi is one of the just 12 Japanese castles that survived the fires, wars, and other catastrophes of the post-feudal age. They were first constructed between 1601 to 1611, but most of the main buildings date from 1748. Then they were reconstructed after a fire. The castle used to be the seat of Yamauchi lords, who ruled over the surrounding Tosa region during the Edo period. A unique feature of the Kochi castle is that the main tower, dojo, was not only used for military purpose, but also as a residence. Uwajima Castle. Uwajima Castle is a Hirayama-jiro, a Japanese castle located in the city of Uwajima, Ehime. An alternate name to this castle was Tsurushima-jo. The castle is one of the 12 Japanese castles still have the original Tenshu. It has been protected as a National Historic Site since 1937. The castle appears square, but it is actually a pentagon and with a secret escape site. It was completed in 1601 by master architect Sokotaro Todo, who also designed the Tokyo's Edo Castle. Kokura Castle. Castle was built on a plateau in the center of Kitakyushu city, making it very convenient for transportation. The famous swordmaster Miyamoto Musashi stayed in Kokura. The famous historical battle of Gendyo Island between Miyamoto Musashi and his rival Sasaki Kojiro was also in Kokura. From the outside, the keep appears to have only 4 stories, but it has 5 inside also. It is built by Todoki Otokawa starting in 1602, with construction completed in 1608. Then Kanazawa Castle. Kanazawa Castle is located at the center of the castle town, which consisted of numerous features which added to the overall defensive situation. The castle is built the highest ground between Sai and the Asano rivers. A system of moats and canals surrounded the castle for extra protection. Mayada Toshinaga, the second daimyo of the Kaga domain, built a system of inner moats and inner systems of outer moats were added in 1600. The castle distinctive whitish roof tiles were made of lead. The reason for that, not only that they are fireproof, but legend says that at times of a siege, the tiles could be melted down and can be made into bullets. And then Kanazawa Castle is a large, partially restored Japanese castle in Kanazawa, Ishikawa Prefecture. It's located adjacent to the celebrated Kendryoku Garden, which once framed the castle's private outer garden. It is headquarters of Kaga domain, ruled by Maeda clan for 14th generation from the Sengoku period until the Meiji Restoration in 1871. In many Japanese castle towns, Buddhist temples were deliberately placed in locations selected to reinforce weak points in the castle defenses. Kanazawa is no exception. Temples were strategically grouped in areas some distance from the castle, more likely as a retreat havens for people to escape during the wars. Fukuyama Castle. Fukuyama Castle, sometimes called the Isamatsu Castle or Iyo Castle, was a castle of the Bingo Fukuyama Han during the Edo period. The castle is located in Fukuyama in Hiroshima near Fukuyama Station. Construction was started in 1619 and completed 1622. The castle stood 7 stories tall and was surrounded by double moats, which provided an inlet to the Seto Inland Sea. The castle suffered extensive damage during World War, and the main tower was rebuilt. And Fukuoka Castle is a Japanese castle located in Chuoku, Fukuoka, Japan. It is also known as Maizuru Castle or Seki Castle. Completed in early Edo period for Tozama Daimyo Kuroda Nakamasa, it has been decreased decreed as a historic site by the Japanese government. The castle lies in the center of Fukuoka on top of Fukusaki Hill. Much of the castle grounds has been converted to Maizuru Park, which houses several sports facilities, a courthouse, and a museum. Eiwadai Baseball Stadium, the past home field of Nishitetsu Lions and Fukuoka Daiei Hawks are also located on the castle ground. Now the castle ground has changed into port complex. Takeda Castle is a ruined castle of Asago City, Hyoga Prefecture. That is also known as a castle floating in the sky because the way it appears to be floating on a sea of clouds on a foggy autumn morning. The castle was originally built in 1411 and later conquered by Toyotomi Hideyoshi on one of his western campaigns to reunite Japan. The castle forces fought against Tokugawa clan during the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, and the castle was abandoned not long after. It then gradually disintegrated over the centuries until the ruins were restored in 1970 and 80s, and the castle opened to a tourist site. Then Bitsu Matsuyama, we also talked about this earlier. I'll show you the photograph of this. Bitsu Matsuyama Castle is located in Takashi, Okayama Prefecture. Because we also saw another Matsuyama Castle, that's why it is one of the 12 remaining original castles, and it is the highest elevation above the sea level in Japan at 430 meters. The castle was built by a nearby mountain in 1240 AD by Akiba Shigenobu. Takashi Maneyasu constructed a castle on modern site at Mount Gagyo in 1331. In 1600, the castle became part of the Bitsu Matsuyama domain, and the two officers of Tokugawa Shogunate repaired the castle as a part of the efforts to turn Matsuyama into a castle town. After the Edo period, the castle was partly destroyed, restored to the original state by 1960. Look at this castle. It's a beautiful castle. It's almost looking like it's floating in the clouds. And then Okayama Castle is a Japanese castle in the city of Okayama. The main tower was completed in 1597, destroyed in 1945, and replicated in concrete in 1966. Two of the watchtowers survived the bombing of 1945 and now listed as National Agency by the National Agency for Cultural Affairs as important cultural property. In a stark contrast to the white cigarette castle of neighboring Imeji, Okayama Castle has a black exterior, earning the nickname of Crow Castle or the Castle of the Blackbird. Odawara Castle. Odawara Castle was originally built in the mid-15th century and soon fell into the hands of Hojo clan, one of the most powerful clans during the Warring States era, who used it as a base to control the region around modern-day Tokyo. In 1590, Toyotomi Hideyoshi attacked the castle, and with the defeat of Hojo clan reunited Japan. In 1703, castle was destroyed by an earthquake, but quickly rebuilt. Yet in 1870, the castle keep and other building was dismantled and sold. Odawara Castle and the Akagane Gate. The keep was rebuilt again in ferro-concrete in 1960 based on the models and drawings of the Edo period. Over the following years, 3 major gates leading up to the castle were restored. Today, its closest castle keep to the Tokyo. Tokyo, we have the Edo Castle is there. It's next to that, there's a closest castle to Tokyo. The castle is also a famous spot for cherry blossoms, typically bloom around the March to April. In many other flowers, including the blossom of spring, azalea, wisteria, and hydrangeia, lotus blossom, and chrysanthemum in autumn. And then the Nijo Castle. Nijo Castle was built in 1603 by the Kyoto residents of Tokugawa Ieyasu, the first shogun of the Edo period, and his grandson Iemitsu completed the castle's palace buildings 23 years later, expanded the castle, adding 5-story castle keep. After Tokugawa shogunate fell in 1867, Nijo Castle was used as an imperial palace for a while before being donated to the city and opened to the public as a historic site. Its palace buildings are best surviving examples of castle palace architecture in Japan's feudal era. It was designated UNESCO World Heritage Site. Iga Ueno Castle. Iga Ueno Castle known as the Ueno Castle, is a Japanese castle located in the city of Iga, Mie Prefecture, in the Kansai region of Japan. The castle is also called Okuo Castle or White Phoenix Castle because of its beautiful architecture and floor plan. The castle has been protected by central government as a national historic site since 1967. Parts of the Akira Kurosawa movie, Kagemusha, were filmed in the castle. And then it is situated almost on the midpoint between Osaka and Nagoya. It's a castle town that spreads out to the northern Iga basin, surrounded by mountains. The samurai residences and temple town retain strong reminders of the olden days. It is also famous as the birthplace of Iga ninja spice. We all have known about ninja. This place is known for Iga ninja spice, which is one of the ninja schools established around 15th century. Iga is also noted for the hometown of Matsudo Basho. Okay, Matsudo Basho, who created a haiku, unique Japanese style poem, 3 lines, 17 syllables, and we also made a big presentation on Matsudo Basho. And then Heisei then is a octagonally shaped hall where sitting statue of Matsudo Basho made, you can see Basho is there, made of the Iga pottery is placed, and it is designated as a municipal cultural property. Koriyama Castle was a Japanese castle, and what is now is the city of Yamato Koriyama, Nara Prefecture. The Sengoku Daimyo Tsutsuki Junke started the construction of the castle, and Toyotomi Hidenaga made it as his residence. In Edo period, it became the headquarters of the Koriyama domain. During this time, it was held by members of the Mizuho, Okudaira, Masudaira, Hondo Fuji Masudaira, and Yanagisawa clans. Today, many walls and moats are preserved in public park in the city. The Yanagisawa shrine stands in the grounds. The castle was listed as one of the and continued top 100 Japanese castle in 2017. Koriyama Castle was destroyed during the Meiji era, but inner moat and stone wall still in good condition. When creating wall for the castle, Toyotomi, this is a very interesting thing. Okay, Toyotomi Hideyoshi ran out of material to make the splendid finish. Instead of leaving the wall unfinished, he decided to take whatever stone he could get his hands on to finish the protective barrier. The wall is one of the most fascinating sites in the area because Hidenaga's clever solution, because there was not enough regular stones, the ruler used grave stones, and Hidenaga has a stone image of Jizo. Jizo is a deity typically associated with the protection of children, small putti statue, to finish the wall. The Jizo is hidden in the wall, and one may be able to locate as he's, because the wall has got a circular staircase. As you circle up, you may be able to locate the Jizo if you've got good eyes. Then Osaka Castle. Osaka Castle, one of Japan's most famous landmarks, and it played a major role in the unification of Japan during the 16th century of the Heisei Momoyama period. The main tower of the Osaka Castle is situated on a plot of land roughly 1 square kilometer. It is built on 2 raised platforms of landfill supported by sheer walls of hard rock using a technique called burdock piling, each overlooking a moat. The central castle building is 5 stories on the outside and 8 stories on the inside, built a tall stone foundation protect its occupants from attackers. Then Wakayama Castle keep and daimyo's garden look as striking as once were the Edo period. The original keep was destroyed by the fire during the bombing of the castle during the Pacific War, but has been faithfully restored. In 1585, Toyotomi Hideyoshi ordered building of the Wakayama Castle. Construction of Osaka Castle had begun 2 years previously. Then this was ordered to be, the castle was occupied by one of the 3 most important Tokugawa sub-branches after the beginning of the Edo period. The Meiji restoration, the keep was designated as a national treasure. Then Edo Castle, we almost come to the end of the presentation. Edo Castle is a flatland castle that was built in 1457 by Oda Takukan in Edo, Toshima district. In modern times, it is a part of the Tokyo Imperial Palace in Chiyoda-ku, Tokyo. Tokugawa Ieyasu established the Edo shogunate there, and it is the residence of the shogun and the headquarters of the military government during the Edo period. After the resignation of shogun and the Meiji Restoration, it became the Tokyo Imperial Palace. And the current Imperial Palace is located on the former site of the Edo Castle, a large park area surrounded by moats and massive stone walls, and then you have a bridge that is going in from the mainland to that. It's also called as Meganebashi because the reflection of the water in the moat, it looks like two glasses of your specs. It's the residence of Japan's imperial family. Edo Castle used by the seat of Tokugawa shogun, who ruled Japan from 1603 until 1867. In 1868, the shogunate was overthrown and the country's capital imperial residence was moved from Kyoto to Tokyo. In 1888, construction of the new imperial palace was complete. The palace was once destroyed during the World War II and rebuilt in the same style afterwards. So now, my friends, I thank all of you for your interest and support during my philatelic run of 50 themes in 50 weeks. My special thanks to Consul General of Japan, His Excellency Masayuki Tagasama, and staff of the Consulate General of Japan Chennai office, International Society of Japanese Philately, ISJP, South India Philately, so SIPA, and my philatelic guru, Balakrishna Das, Mr. Mahesh Parekh, Secretary SIPA, my wife Brinda, my daughter Rashida and Shobana, who also went through all the corrections of this stuff, and my staff of ABK, those of Tamil Nadu Center, with a very special mention of Singarvelu, Bhupalan. Amount of work Bhupalan has done on this, only I know it. So, he did a great job on it. Okay, he needs a special, and then Chandru, without whom I would have never done anything. Then Kumar, my electronics wizard, Manogaran, Tirunambi, Nitya, and Priya are new staff who are joined, but they picked up very well in a short time. I'm happy. And then Ravi, who makes sure the place is clean, who coordinated my presentation, and those who cheered me all through my presentation. And God Almighty always guided me on all my efforts. Thank you, and then thank you. Now, I have a very old